be talking about, again, the non-commutative chord and what that means in terms of meditation. There's a new PhD thesis that somebody did on non-commutative music theory, and as a PhD in music and mathematics. But the problem is they're assuming that music theory is based on using an instrument, whereas if we look at the anthropology of music on a global scale, and we live in a global age, then we realize that every human culture has music, and the foundation of this music is with singing and without any instruments, so that the human body is the main instrument. And if you really train in music, then realize that the most important lesson in music is listening. And then eventually, when you memorize music through a deep listening process, and you realize that the music is actually listening to you, and you're not listening to the music. It sounds sort of absurd to say this, but one of the good examples of this is the book called The Haunting Melody by Theodore Reik. And so when he was a psychologist as a contemporary of Freud in Vienna, part of what was called the Vienna Circle of philosophers and psychologists. I think it was maybe the 1920s, and he was friends with Brahms also, and the main point of his book, The Haunting Melody, is that we will often have melodies come into our head that we hear, and the moment we hear those melodies, it's revealing our subconscious emotions. And if we can remember the words to the melody, then the words will be our subconscious communicating to us. And so in this way, the music is a bridge to what normally people are controlled by in the present, but only can figure out in the future as by solving their subconscious emotional blockages. So if we're able to realize that the music is listening to us, therefore it is our subconscious guiding us from the future. And so then in this PhD on non-commutative music as mathematics, not only do they wrongly define music as an external instrument and not the body as the primary instrument, but they also state that a chord is 3 notes and then it's symmetric, that the 12 notes are then a symmetry, and their basis for this is that if you don't maintain the symmetry of the 12 notes, then you end up having an infinity of notes due to the simple fact that 2 does not go into 3. And this is the basis of the non-commutative law they just don't go into each other because one's odd or male and one's even female. But as the Pythagoreans taught, the number 1 is male and the number 2 is female. But the number 1 is also not a number, which is another way of saying that you can never find the source of the 1 is actually it goes into the light as being only the source of the high thoughts, source of the light. And so the counter argument that he gives is the same argument that Simon Stevin gave, the Dutch mathematician in the 1500s. He was the very first one to apply irrational number logarithms as a formalized mathematics of Western music. And of course, he was relying on cube root of 2 is the major third interval from 5/4 that approximates the cube root of 2 that originated from the Greek mathematics, and this is also what inspired the Renaissance in the West for three-dimensional perspective, is the cube root of 2 is for the fourth root. Let's see. I can't remember the conversion, but it's for doubling the cube. This would be the original mathematical equation for precisely doubling the cube, as Archytas did using projective geometry, but it originated from compound ratios. Or at least this is what they would follow on this. Luigi Bortolini said, yes, my is good, but I don't have any historical proof that that is intact. But as he states that there's a cognitive bias in the West against the logistic or music ratio origin, less what John Chernoff realized is the truth of African philosophy as existentialism in music, and when he trained in West African drumming. And you find this in the rhythm of the 2 against the 3. And there's a PhD thesis on that, on the 2 against the 3 polyrhythm in Africa. So it's that